Armstrong Powerhouse have been making sound enhancement or rolling stock packs focused on British diesels and electrics in TS Classic for donkey's years, but for various reasons, I don't have as high an opinion of AP these days as what I had around 10 years ago. Today, we're returning to their catalogue for a look at one of their more recent releases, but in saying that, it's actually a remake of an enhancement pack that they first released back in 2017. The original Class 66 enhancement pack turned out to be reasonably useful, even though it came across as unnecessary when it was first released. I wonder if history will repeat itself for this new version. After what felt like a long development process, version 2 of the Class 66 enhancement pack was released on the 3rd of September 2025. It's available to buy on ArmStation Land Rover's website, where Volume 1 costs a staggering £20, or $45.67 NZD, and Volume 2 costs an extra £8, or $18.25 NZD. A loyalty discount is available for owners of the original Class 66 EP, but it's only a £5 discount, and considering the fact that both volumes were released at the same time, unlike what Armstrong Underpants did for the Class 455 and Class 465 enhancement packs, it makes me wonder why they thought it was necessary to split the new 66 EP into 2 volumes. In my brutally honest opinion, £23 or £28 is far too much money to pay for an enhancement pack, especially when you remember that it's very close to the full price of the Class 156 diesel multiple unit and Class 411 4SEP electric multiple unit, not to mention the Somerset and Dorset route from Golden Age developments, which we'll see later. The 156 and 411 were made entirely from scratch and don't have any requirements other than the base game, while in the case of the Class 66, you have to pay for the base requirement on top of the EP, if you haven't got the base requirement yet. Speaking of which, the remade EP requires the EWS Class 66 V2.0 add-on, released in March 2013 and still available on Steam for 24 New Zealand dollars, or around £10.50. Add that on top of both volumes, and the total cost is now $87.91 NZD, or £38.48 if you didn't have the original 66 EP. Do with that information what you will. The following is a reference to a certain iconic SpongeBob episode and an exaggeration for comedic effect. I would rather tear out my brainstem, carry it into the middle of the nearest four-way intersection and skip rope with it, than pay full price for an AP pack. If you want to use the BR266 with the new EP, I'm sorry to say that you're out of luck because, once again, the EP is not compatible, because of course it isn't. For reference, the BR266 was released in December 2014, and you can still buy it on Steam for 24 New Zealand dollars at full price. This locomotive is essentially the same as the regular Class 66, albeit with German-specific safety systems and a different control desk. Speaking of which, some locomotives currently running in the UK as Class 66s were imported from the continent, but there is no Europe spec cab interior included in the EP. Speaking of the continental imports, I ended up seeing one of them at Shepherd's Bush on the 6th of May 2025 and thought the horn sounded really weird. Of course, I did not buy version 2 of the EP at close to full price, and instead waited until I could get it at a bigger discount. Such an opportunity didn't come about until the 2nd of May 2026, when I picked it up for £11, or $25.30 NZD, plus the extra cost for Volume 2, during one of AP's bank holiday sales. To be fair to AP, I'll give them credit for their arrangement to donate some of the earnings from sales of this EP to a charity, but that doesn't excuse the EP and its price from criticism. If you're going to try spinning a false narrative by suggesting that I only dislike this EP because of its ties to supporting a charity, then you should be ashamed of yourself. As a matter of fact, I'm generally in favour of supporting charities or volunteer organisations as and when it's appropriate. As ridiculous as some of AP's antics have been over the last 6 years, even they still deserve credit where it's due. It's good to see that they've made a full changelog showing what has changed from the first Class 66 EP, but it begs the question as to why those changes couldn't have just been added to the original EP as a free update, as opposed to being released as a whole new and overpriced version. As for what a 66 is doing on Ed and Sid's turf, I have no idea. As for what's actually included in the remade Enhancement pack, we'll start off with the liveries in Volume 1, and the selection is as follows. English, Welsh and Scottish Railway, or EWS for short, DB Schenker/DB Cargo UK, DB Maritime Blue, Freightliner, Freightliner Powerhaul, Freightliner Genesee and Wyoming, numerous variants of GB Rail Freight's Blue and Orange, GB Rail Freight Grey, Metronet, First GB Rail Freight, Direct Rail Services 1, DRS Plain Blue, unbranded DRS with or without Freightliner logos, Advenza Freight, Colas Rail, and Fastline Freight. Volume 2 focuses on some of the special interest liveries, mainly ones from GB Rail Freight at that, and the selection is as follows. PD Ports Blue for 66109 Teesport Express, Freightliner/Baden Aggregates for 66623 Bill Bolsover, Freightliner/Ocean Network Express for 66587, GBRF 66701 in specific 2015 and 2017 variants, for some reason, GBRF 66708 with the flag of Ukraine, GBRF/Medite for 66709 Joseph Arnold Davies, GBRF/Aggregate Industries for 66711, GBRF/Wascosa for 66720, GBRF/Maritime for 66727, GBRF/NHS Thank You for 66731 Captain Tom Moore, GBRF/Platinum Jubilee for 66734 the second, GBRF/Newell and Wright Transport for 66747 made in Sheffield, GBRF Black for 66769 League Managers Associations, British Railways Green for 66779 Evening Star, Cemex for 66780 the Cemex Express, GBRF/Charity Rail Tours for 66782, GBRF/Biffa for 66783 the Flying Dustman, British Rail Large Logo Blue for 66789, BR Trainload Grey for 66793 and 66794, High Speed 2 Green and Blue for 66796 the Green Progressor, and Royal Scotsman Maroon for 66743 and 66746. While it's good to see AP including more than just the main liveries, for once, It means that the community-made reskins built on the previous Class 66 EP are now obsolete. Well, most of those reskins are now obsolete anyway. There's still a place for some reskins, as, for whatever reason, AP still missed out a large number of unique liveries, at least 21 to be specific. The list of omitted liveries includes, but is certainly not limited to, 66773 Pride of GB Rail Freight in standard GBRF colours, albeit with rainbow decals, the pre-2022 Night and Day livery worn by 66720, 66004 in DB Cargo / Climate Hero Green, 66301 in gold for Drax Power Station's 50th anniversary, 66709 and 66711 in Railway 200 / Inspiration Train Red, and 66791 Settle in Carlisle 150 in Heidelberg Materials Green. Do with this information what you will. Thinking back to the standard DB Red livery, there are additional variants applied automatically depending on the number. The extras are 66077 Benjamin Gimbert GC and 66085 with Powered by HVO decals, 66099 with the flag of Ukraine, and 66150 with We Are the Future lettering, whatever that means. Incidentally, I was lucky to see at least two of the special interest 66s in real life, specifically 66734 Platinum Jubilee in Carlisle, and 66780 the Cemex Express coming off the Gospel Oak to Barking line at Haringey. For the longest time, I didn't realise that the colour palette on 66734 the second is quite similar to that which was used on 3435 Queen Empress, one of the LNWR Greater Britain steam locomotives. I could have sworn that I also saw 66783, the Flying Dustman, from onboard a Class 800 heading out to Didcot Parkway, but I didn't get enough warning of the 66's presence to take a photograph. Here's a thought. Why were the livery variations for 66077, 66085, 66099 and 66150 included in Volume 1 despite being unique liveries? It really makes me wonder why AP did a second volume of the EP when all the unique liveries could have just been bundled in Volume 1. One of the things I like about this EP is the fact that some of the locomotive details automatically change in the scenario editor. Depending on the chosen livery variant and locomotive number, you'll get one of 6 different light clusters, and numerous members of this class are named. Case in point, 66717 Good Old Boy, another 66 that I happened to see in real life. At least 175 nameplates were modelled for this pack, but they are all 2D, as was also the case on the Class 92 and Class 378 enhancement packs. Considering the fact that numerous AP packs have had 3D nameplates in the past, I question why they didn't give the Class 66, Class 92 and Class 378 the same treatment. It may surprise some people to learn of the fact that I don't hate every single aspect of the new Class 66 Enhancement Pack. Other things that I like include, but are not limited to, the previously shown locomotive details changing based on the number, realistic physics, new prime mover sounds, a long overdue representation of the lower emissions 66/9 variant, and new horn sounds for the European imports, which is a nice touch. As for the physics, I noticed that these locomotives are rather quick off the mark when they're running light engine or hauling a short train, such as the nature of having 3,200 horsepower, but you'll notice a big difference in acceleration when they're hauling a longer train, particularly if said train is heavy. In saying that, the first time I drove 66734 the second, I only had it hauling 7 loaded JPA wagons, thus recreating the consist I saw behind the real locomotive in Carlisle, but the in-game Locomotive struggled to accelerate with that consist on a 1 in 52 uphill grade. That first run with 66.734 the second was on Forum Peninsula, and out of curiosity, I tried running her with the JPA wagons again on the Coniston Branch, a route with gradients as steep as 1 in 32, or even 1 in 27 at one point. On the steeper sections, I found that I had to put the throttle above notch 5 just to get any significant amount of acceleration. As for anything else that I consider to be worth mentioning, I thought the cab textures looked pretty good on first impression, and the prime mover sounds are fairly accurate to the real Class 66, apart from seeming too quiet in-game, even in the higher throttle notches. Curiously, most of the nameplates in this EP are flat, but 66.734 the second has her nameplates formed to the corrugated body sides, which makes me wonder just what the hell's going on here. This situation with 66.734's nameplates is like what I would expect to see on a Hornby Class 66 without etched nameplates. Volume 2 doesn't include any scenarios, but Volume 1 includes 3 of them, and they're all for AP's enhanced version of Dovetail's Midland Main Line London to Bedford route. I haven't played any of the aforementioned scenarios because 2 of the requirements are the new HST Valenta and VP185 packs, and I haven't got those add-ons because I'm happy with the older enhancement packs as they are, and it doesn't help that those new HST packs cost an eye-watering £30 and £25 respectively. Speaking of the price, the total cost of all the requirements for the Class 66 EP scenarios is a ludicrous £405 and 26 pence, or $934.91 NZD. That includes the cost of the base packs required for the Class 150/1, Turbostar, Electrostar, Desiro City, and Midland Mainline enhancement packs. To be fair, most of the requirements being AP's own packs makes it easier to find them, but there's a downside in the form of a significant amount of AP's products being way too expensive for what they are, especially where the Class 375 and Class 377 enhancement pack is concerned. I couldn't recommend waiting for a sale highly enough. One last thing before moving on to the conclusion. In the manual, it says that you can press Ctrl numpad Enter to disable the visual alarms, as is the norm for AP products, but for some reason, that doesn't work on the Class 66. So, would I recommend the remade Class 66 enhancement pack to other TS Classic players who like the modern UK rail scene? To be honest, I don't know, and I say that because I'm in two minds over this pack. On the one hand, the original Class 66 enhancement pack did the job well enough, so part of me still finds it a little odd that Armchair Power Drill made a new version. In addition, I'm still confused by Armlord Powerchurch's decision to split the pack up into multiple volumes, and I am of the opinion that the 2 volumes put together are simply not worth anywhere near as much as that total cost of £28, or even £23 for those who had the original EP. Not helping the situation is the pack's incompatibility with the BR266, not to mention the previously referenced 21 unique liveries that still weren't included, as well as other issues like the lack of 3D nameplates, inaccurate cab windows on some variants, and the prime mover audio being too quiet. But on the other hand, I still appreciate the improvements to the selection of horn sounds, as well as the physics and external visuals in general, not to mention the inclusion of a decent selection of liveries. As for where I'd rate the remade EP, I can't really decide, to be honest. I'm sort of hovering between around 6.5 and 7.5 out of 10, but like I say, I can't really make a solid decision. If you've stuck around to the end of the video, you win a nocturnal animal that can ring a bell, but is also insulted for its low intelligence. It's the dingbat.